Alrighty, welcome back to the shop. We've been out and shot this little Sig P365, and I'm going to do a little demonstration on how to take it apart and get it cleaned up a little bit for you. Okay, so here we have the 365. As always, we're going to make sure we open up the slide and confirm that there's nothing in the chamber. All right, we have an unloaded firearm. Okay, and we're going to do a little field stripping on it. All we have to do on this one is with the slide lock back, we're going to rotate our takedown lever down, right? Release the slide lock, and it'll pull right off. It's a little stiff, but it will come right off the front. You don't have to pull the trigger to release it, okay? And then to take the barrel out and do our field strip cleaning on it, we're going to push our magazine, or not shake shoot, I'm going to push our recoil spring forward off the barrel. And in this case, we have a captured recoil spring, so you don't have to worry about it flying off and getting away from you there. Push our barrel up a little bit and drop it out of the frame. And here we have it field stripped. Okay, and we're going to go in here with our solvents and clean off any dirt and crud and carbon buildup, so that we can come back with some dry patch, clean all that carbon off of it, and then follow it up with some light lubrication. Same thing on a barrel. And this is a really nicely machined piece. We see a lot of firearms sometimes that are not machined very well, and you have rough finishes on them. This one is pretty smooth and has a nice taper to the entrance to the chamber, so it cycles very well because of that. Okay. And in here we have our polymer frame grip, and this has a modular insert into it. We just take a couple pins and you can take the whole inside of it out if you need to service it for anything. But other than that, we're going to clean the crud and dirt off of our tracks, and also maybe blow some compressed air in here to help get rid of any dirt and grime. We'll come back with a clean dry patch to remove all of the solvents, and follow up with a little bit of light lubrication on the tracks and maybe a drop or two of oil down in the sear mechanism area, and also possibly on one drop on our pin where the trigger rotates. Okay, that's all there is to it. Pretty much very simple to take apart, so you don't have to worry about parts flying across the room and lose them in your carpet, that kind of thing, as with a few other firearms that we've shown a couple times. We're going to drop a barrel back in. We'll push a little bit of pressure on our recoil spring and lock it back into the barrel. And we're just going to take and make sure our takedown lever is down. We push our slide back on and get it in the tracks and line it up. And a little bit of force, bring it back. You can bring your takedown lever back into position, the home position. And there you go. She's put back together and ready to go. Okay. One of the features about this gun, a little bit I can talk about in just a second, is that it is a small 9mm subcompact. It has a lot of capacity, being for the size it is, in that we have a 10-round magazine plus one in the chamber. You could have 11 rounds in here, and with that being the case, you've got a good amount of ammo if you need it in an emergency situation. Here we have a fairly good texture on our grip. We have a little bit of a finger tab on the bottom of the magazine. I like that part of it. Helps get enough grip on the gun that you can control it. We also have with this one a Picatinny built into the bottom of the frame for any accessories, lasers or light possibly. It could be mounted to it. And with this particular model too, we have a decent sight picture, in that you have a green halo around your front sight, and these I believe are tritium sights where they're glow in the dark. So you've got that benefit for you also, as far as for nighttime operation, as far as protection goes. All right, I'll tell you what we'll do too. Let's go ahead and pull the magnet out of it. We're going to do a trigger pull test also, just to see what it feels like. I'll grab my trigger pull gauge. Hang on just a second. All right, my trusty RCBS gauge here, and we'll give it a tug and see what happens with it. I know for a defensive piece, it's not going to be a hair trigger like or light as a competition trigger would be, and you don't want it to be, because if you're in a situation like that, you want to make sure that you mean to pull the trigger and not just accidentally let it go off. We have 5 3/4 pounds. Okay, so that's pretty good for in my opinion, for a concealment gun, especially something of this size, small like this. Let's just see for giggles how far the reset is on it. So we've pulled our trigger, we've got the gun fired. I'm going to cycle the gun and see how far we have to move our finger to let the trigger reset. That's a good bit of reset travel also. If I let the trigger go all the way now, we see we have a little bit of take up here. That's a good bit of pre-travel before the gun starts to engage your sear. So, and that's good for this kind of type of gun, because you don't want a defensive gun to be too touchy when you are in a stressful situation. So we get to here, we pull a little bit, we keep pulling, and it moves a little bit before the trigger breaks, and before the gun fires. So that's really good for that situation. Okay, so that's cool. I can see why people favor these guns, and Sig makes a good product, no doubt. Okay, alrighty. Well, with that, that's our takedown of the P365 by Sig. Hopefully that helps somebody out there, and if we can do something for you, give us a call. Maverick Gun Works.